Hello and welcome everyone to the Q&A session for our upcoming video course, Your Body-Wise Path to Healing, the 6-week training to align with your body, health, nature connection for total well-being. I'm Carrie Hernandez, and it's my pleasure to be your host for this Q&A conversation for the Shift Network, where we're going to explore the teachings of Dr. Rachel Carlton Abrams and address questions about her 6-week video course, Your Body-Wise Path to Healing, which begins Wednesday, September 25th. If you're unable to join us live, you can still participate in this course, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that later. But first, I want to introduce my guest. Dr. Rachel Carlton Abrams is a medical doctor with a master's degree in holistic health. She is board certified in family medicine and integrative medicine. Dr. Rachel is an author, keynote speaker, presenter, and expert consultant on holistic health. Her most recent books are Body-Wise, Discovering Your Body's Intelligence for Lifelong Health and Healing, and 8 Dates, Essential Conversations for a Lifetime of Love with John and Julie Gottman. Dr. Rachel has a full medical practice at the Santa Cruz Integrative Medical Clinic, and also a full and active personal and family life. She's juggling so much professionally and personally, and it is my pleasure to be hosting her on her upcoming course. And now I want to welcome Dr. Rachel.
Thanks, Carrie. I'm excited to be here and very happy to be here with you.
Oh, it's a delight to see you, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Well, we are going to spend the rest of our time exploring questions that you have for Dr. Rachel as we prepare for her upcoming video course, Your Body-Wise Path to Healing, which begins Wednesday, September 25th. And you can visit our website, bodywisecourse.com, to learn more about the 6-week video course and find a link to register. Okay, now let's get started. Let's see, just go ahead and type in your questions, and I'm going to be happy to read them. I am going to just switch over and bring forward our first question. So let me just zip over. All right. Let's see. This is our first question coming in. How can I talk to my primary care physician about more holistic and integrated approach to my health and healing?
It's such a great question. When I began practice, the medical profession was actually pretty antagonistic to integrative and holistic medicine, even though I was always interested in it. And my mentor, Dr. Gladys McGarry, she's now 96, mind you, and still doing public speaking. She's a remarkable woman. She's the mother of holistic medicine in the United States. And integrative and holistic medicine fought a lot of legal battles over the years to be able to approach health as a whole person. It seems a little bit nuts, but we live in a friendlier climate. So integrative medicine, that is the integration of deep preventative medicine, approaches other than just medication, like exercise, diet, meditation, using deep traditions like Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, Western medicine, even more advanced functional medicine. That specialty is now actually board certified. So most doctors don't know that yet, but it is board certified just like pulmonology or cardiology or sleep medicine. So an actually board certified medical specialty. So we have a little more legitimacy, and almost every major medical school now has an integrative medicine practice, if not a training program. So it's a little friendlier, but still it can be hard to talk to your regular doctor about it because most of them have just no training in this, including, sadly, in something as important to medicine as nutrition. So here's my suggestion. And sometimes when my patients come into my office and I know I need to send them to their Kaiser doc or their Palo Alto Medical Foundation doc, their regular doctor, I give them a little script. So it usually goes something like this. Hey, I'm really curious because I was reading, or I found out that it's possible that there's some things I can do, for example, about my high blood pressure that might be successful other than medication. And so I've been trying meditation. I've been exercising more. I've been eating differently. I'm taking a little CoQ10, a little fish oil. I'm just curious if my blood pressure goes down, is it possible to reduce my medication? Ask in a non-threatening way that's respectful of that doctor's opinion. Now, mind you, if you have a doctor that is incapable of being respectful of your personal opinion, because this course is all about being body wise, how do you really listen to yourself? How do you listen to your own deep intelligence about your body and then share that with your provider? You do have to have a provider that can play ball, meaning that respects you as well. And so sometimes the advice is, oh, your practitioner has zero interest in hearing about what else you're doing. Well, not the right practitioner for you, right? We need someone who can actually work with you. And most practitioners, if you're respectful and kind about it, are fine with you doing other things other than taking medication that are going to help your health. And most of them know, for example, that exercise or diet or meditation can have a big impact on health, and they're open to that. So I would say be open, be clear, be confident, because only you know your body. No one else is inside of you. Only you know your body. And with that confidence and then kindness, of course, always goes a long way. Often you can get a regular doctor to work hand in hand with you about the things that you're interested in doing.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that guidance on being body wise and what to bring forward. Next question is, I have been told I have autoimmune issues, i.e. RA. And so what can I do to heal my body in being body wise?
Great question. So just to the acronyms for everybody. So RA is rheumatoid arthritis, and that's a top type of autoimmune disease. So autoimmune means that your immune system, which I think of as your friendly defense system, it's kind of our internal army that is really it's there to protect us. It protects us against invaders like viruses, bacteria, parasites, things that can be dangerous to us. It also protects us against dangerous things in our bodies like cancer, for example. So the immune system, fundamental to our health and well-being. There's probably no other body system. Okay, maybe the GI system, although the immune system and the GI system are deeply linked. That's something I talk about in detail in my upcoming course, where I talk about your body as its own microbiome, its own ecosystem. And that ecosystem is fundamental to the creation of your immune system. The immune system trains on gut bacteria, for example. And when I'm dealing with someone with rheumatoid arthritis or any other autoimmune disease, for example, like the most common one is Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which many people suffer from. And there can be quite serious autoimmune diseases, including rheumatoid arthritis, that I always start with the gut. And the reason that I do that is that when we balance out the gut bacteria and decrease immune activity in the gut, we can calm it down elsewhere. Autoimmune means that instead of attacking viruses, parasites, bacteria, things that are dangerous to you, your body's actually attacking itself. So one thing I do want to say about that that's very particular to autoimmune disease is that half of autoimmune diseases start after a severe stressful experience. So I want you to think of it this way metaphorically. If your immune system is responsible for protecting you, and you have some experience that feels threatening, or even maybe it's a severe loss, grief, but it feels really bad in your body and it is hard on your physiology, it can tip you over into having a disease, having an autoimmune disease. In that case, we want to go to the root causes always, because if we just treat symptoms, which is a lot of what Western medicine does, then we never get over what's ailing us. We maybe feel a little better, but we don't get rid of it. In the case of rheumatoid arthritis or other autoimmune diseases, I start with addressing the gut microbiome, testing the microbiome, which can be done in integrative medicine, balancing that out, trying to calm the immune system down in general. But a big piece of that is calming down yourself. So whatever's been going on in your life that feels threatening, that feels scary, maybe you have a history of abuse or neglect or something traumatic in your past, dealing with those things also allows the body to generally relax. I call this, being nice to your adrenals, finding that state of relaxation. That could be through meditation, through prayer, through walking in nature. I'm a huge fan of getting yourself in front of plants and trees and living things and other living beings. Love and affection also help calm the adrenals and calm the immune system. So I do gut. I have people address maybe what might be root cause, including decreasing stress. And then we do kind of significant anti-inflammatory diet and sometimes supplements. That'll usually include turmeric, essential fatty acids, either fish oil or flax or walnuts on the vegan, vegetarian side. And then sometimes ginger or even frankincense, which is boswellia, which is a wonderful anti-inflammatory herb. And then I try to identify if the immune system is reacting to other things. So if you're someone who's also allergic to a number of things, or you have food sensitivities or food allergies that we didn't know about, we do our best to limit your exposure to those, because when the immune system is active, say, against cats, and it's also active against dust mites, and by the way, you're also reacting to dairy in your diet, the volume of the total immune system is turned up. And when we limit those exposures, the volume of the immune system can go down. So my experience with my patients with autoimmune disease is that I can't always get them off of all their medications, but often we can limit them. So one of my patients with rheumatoid arthritis came in on 5 medications, I kid you not, including a non-steroidal like ibuprofen and prednisone, as well as 3 immune suppressants. It's not completely unusual when it's severe. And we were able to get her down to 1 medication using all the natural means. Now, I work hand in hand with rheumatologists. So I, for example, would never say just go off your medication for autoimmune disease. That is dangerous. We need to actually control the symptoms, look at the markers, see that inflammation is down. If it's a different kind of disease like inflammatory bowel disease, there are different blood markers to look at. And then hand in hand, as you feel better, we reduce medications carefully so that autoimmune disease doesn't reemerge. And in autoimmune arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, it actually causes joint damage that is lifelong. So we don't want to just willy-nilly go off of medication. We want to be careful. And sometimes medication is 100% appropriate and we stay on it, but we manage the other symptoms and side effects with natural means. And the way that being body-wise comes into this is really paying attention to those things that stress you out, those traumas you may have had, what might have started this particular illness, and then what things you respond to in the environment. Like, how do you do on turmeric? How do you do on fish oil? Do you feel like you're allergic to something in your life? And by the way, there are true allergies, like we can measure an immunoglobulin response, but then there's also having people or toxic situations or toxic work situations that also make you feel under threat. Also a problem for autoimmune disease. So that's a really good place to use your body-wise intelligence. During the free call that I did earlier, we did an exercise helping you identify your body's yes and no. We're going to do that again in the course. That helps you feel in your body whether a particular situation or person is also toxic to you. Now, this is a specific discussion for autoimmune disease, but to be perfectly honest, all of these principles are important for underlying well-being of all kinds. I hope that's helpful.
Oh, fantastic. Very helpful. Thank you. All right. Our next question is, I really loved what I heard in the special introduction of the course, which you just talked on, and it made me want to find a physician who works in an integrative way like you. So what I'm not clear about is, how will I benefit from taking this course if I won't be able to work with you one-on-one?
That's a great question. So this course was created from the material in my book, Body-Wise, and then all of my experiences since then. So I have another book, 8 Dates, that's been out. I've done a lot of work on relationships to help people do what I do in my office on their own. So actually, something like 95% of illness that shows up in a primary care doctor's office. I'm a family practice doc, so I literally see everyone, children to older folks, and I see them for everything. But 95% of what I see is caused by lifestyle. I do the quotes because lifestyle is this very general term, and it means what you eat, how much you eat, whether you exercise, how you move your body, whether you sleep, how much you sleep, the quality of your sleep, also the quality of your relationships, the emotional tenor of your life, and the environment that you're in, both the home you live in, the place you work, the city you live in, the presence of conflict or danger in those locations. So that's environment. And then on top of that, toxins that you're exposed to. So addressing each one of those things doesn't require a medical doctor. We can actually do a ton of work to lay the foundation for health. And I mean all health. When we address what I call those 5 fundamentals of health, so that's eat, sleep, move, love, and purpose, being on purpose in your life, those 5 fundamentals underlie cardiovascular disease, cancer, autoimmune disease, digestive disorders, depression, and anxiety, most of the things that afflict us and or kill us. And all of them can be alleviated and addressed and or prevented with changes in those fundamental things that don't require a doctor, okay? And then I also, because I'm an integrative doctor and I use herbs, I use supplements, I use exercise, meditation, spiritual practices. You don't need a doctor for any of those things. You just need someone that can help lead you. And then you need your deep body intelligence to tell what's working for you and what's not working for you. So there's actually a tremendous amount that you can do for your own health without having a physician. That said, sometimes you need a physician for very specific tests, and that can be done. So I am on the board of the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. That's the AIHM.org. And we have a whole list of practitioners, all integrative practitioners, not just doctors, all licensed health practitioners who are integrative, that you can find in your area. Another good resource is the Institute for Functional Medicine, which is functionalmedicine.org. And then, as I said, integrative doctors are now board certified. So if you go to the board certification site for integrative medicine, the ABOIM, American Board of Integrative Medicine, there's also a list of board certified integrative practitioners, not just doctors, but other practitioners as well. I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you. You know, this question kind of piggybacks on that in a sense that our next person said, I read Body Wise and really enjoyed it. So I'm looking at how this course will either differ from the book or enhance what I've already read from your teachings.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we will be going over the material that's in Body Wise, but we'll do it mostly in the first of 6 sessions. So in 5 more sessions, I'm actually now teaching and lecturing and doing keynote talks on the rest of this. So thanks for giving me a chance to talk about it, because I'm feeling pretty passionate about it. You can understand why when you consider where we're at in our world right now. But I like to talk a lot about right relationship, which is the integrity, resilience, and beauty in a relationship. So relationship is right and action is right when it restores the integrity, the resilience, and the beauty of the natural world. So it's actually an ecological term, but I think it works really well for emotional life, psychological life, and physical health, because I've never heard a better definition for cellular health than integrity, resilience, and beauty of cellular function. So we're going to be exploring that in detail. What does it mean to be in right relationship with your body? So that's being body wise, having body intelligence, but also what does it mean to be in right relationship with other people? What does it mean to be in right relationship with the natural world? We're going to go into that in detail, including all the research on that and how we can each apply it in our own lives. And how bringing all 3 of those together as a way of being in the world is really the way to have optimal health. So, you know, it's also true as an integrative doctor, I treat all kinds of illnesses, but I also help people who don't have an illness necessarily, but just want to be in peak physical condition, or maybe they want to get older without a lot of cellular aging, you know, then we address that too. And I really think that being in right relationship, which includes how you are in your community and those relationships. It includes your exposure to toxins in the environment and what you might do about those. We're going to talk about that also in session 5. So there's a lot more material. It's fundamentally based on Body Wise, but then it goes beyond Body Wise into the stuff I'm getting really excited about now. And the reason is that we're at a crisis point in our natural world. and that understanding that we as human animals are an intrinsic part of the natural world, and there is no out there that we put our trash. There is no out there that we throw our waste. We are absolutely fully connected, which means that we are swimming in our own detritus to some degree. That's a little depressing. But here's the good news. We are also interconnected with other human animals, with other life forms on this planet in a web that supports all of us. And when we act in our own way in that web, when we actually decide to take action in right relationship in our part of this extended web, we do what we need to reweave the world back together. So that's what we're going to talk about in the course.
Fantastic. We have a few questions that came in, and it's talking, I think, a bit what we were saying. Both these questions refer to it as a microbiome, and they're talking about, one question is asking, do you feel that our microbiomes align with those of the people we live with, and how can that shape our health and our well-being?
That's a great question. So let me just explain microbiome, which I referred to before, but let me just explain it. So we have somewhere between 6 and 10 times as many other cells, bacteria, fungi, protozoa in our bodies as we have human cells. So just wrap your mind around that for a minute. You're actually more non-human than you are human. You yourself are a rainforest. You're a walking rainforest of living organisms, and that those living organisms are essential to your well-being. So Pasteur, many years ago, was a scientist who was kind of fundamental in creating our theory of disease and infection, and saying, there are these microscopic particles that actually invade our bodies and make us ill. And we need to destroy or kill those particles, either by good hand washing, by hygiene, by antibiotics, in order to do well. It's not wrong, but it's totally incomplete. There was a competing scientist at the time who was arguing that it's not really about killing the bad guys. It's about creating an ecosystem that will support the good guys. And our loss of that wisdom in our medical system is leading us to where we are now. So your microbiome refers to all of the living creatures in your skin, in your mouth, in your ears, in your lungs, in your sinuses, in your belly, if you're female, in your vagina. These are all different populations, and they're very important for our health. They actually help us stay well and fight off other organisms. And when we mess with that microbiome, like let's say we introduce a bunch of antibiotics and other chemicals and pesticides that affect the living organisms, which we did around 1950, really. So we're almost 70 years in. Most of them are not tested for safety in humans, by the way. And as I said, there's no separation. Even if they're not in our food, they're definitely in contact with us from walking on the earth, from water in the air, etc. It reduces the diversity of our microbiome. So in our gut, for example, we should have 800 species of bacteria. And when we look at hunter-gatherers, which are really living in the way that humans did for most of our existence, they have a very diverse microbiome. So let's just say they have this many bacteria. When you look at humans in developed countries, they have more this many bacteria. So we still have a microbiome, but it's been depleted, and it's been depleted by toxins in the environment, by antibiotics, also by our food supply. So when you eat fiber, you don't digest it for your own cells, but it goes to your gut and it is digested to support your bacterial cells, and it's essential for their well-being. So in a low-fiber diet, which is the sort of SAD diet, the standard American diet, you have a very low microbiome. It puts you at risk for all kinds of digestive disorders and disturbances, allergy. So we have increasing rates of allergy and autoimmune disease, not just in our country, but all over the world, probably in at least much of it is due to depletion of the microbiome. And keeping that microbiome healthy is really important to our well-being. So the question was about, do we share that microbiome with people we love? 100%. 100%. So we get our gut bacteria, for example. We're born with no bacteria. We've been inside our mama's body. It's been sterile, no bacteria. When we're born, we're exposed to bacteria in the vaginal canal. And if we didn't have a vaginal birth, if we had a C-section, then we're exposed by nursing, by touching the mama, by contact with the skin and the dad. And that is how we furnish our normal intestinal bacteria. And there's some aspect of that that is then lifelong. For example, babies with C-sections are more at risk for allergy and autoimmune disease than babies who don't have C-sections. Wrap your head around that. Just that little trip through the vagina makes a big difference in terms of gathering healthy bacteria. So you can imagine that if you live in a household with someone, especially someone you're intimate with, like if it's a romantic partner and you're kissing and touching and holding, or it's even, just affectionate, like when you hold your children, yes, of course, you share bacteria. And it's fine. It's the way it's supposed to be. We get bacteria wherever we travel. I'm not suggesting this, but there's a bunch of integrative doctors I know who every time they travel to a new country, they eat a little street food. Now that is potentially dangerous, but they're trying to gather healthy bacteria from other places to, replenish their own microbiome to increase their diversity. So when we do something like, say, use hand wash that has triclosan in it, that was the antibacterial substance in hand wash, it substantially reduces the bacteria in the good bacteria in our hands, on our bodies, et cetera. It has a negative effect on us. Families that hand wash their dishes have a better intestinal microbiome than families that use a dishwasher, because the dishwasher uses hot water, and a lot of people use dishwashing detergent with bleach, and it kills more bacteria. Not necessarily a good thing, right? We want that ecosystem metaphor where exposure to bacteria, healthy bacteria, whether it's on other bodies, with other people, with pets, in the soil, gardening, traveling, is actually good for you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I want to let everyone know that if you're just joining us, we're here with Dr. Rachel Carlton Abrams, learning about her course, Your Body-Wise Path to Healing, which begins on Wednesday, September 25th. So you can log on to bodywisecourse.com for all the details to register. All right, let's get back to our questions. We have so many. This one's coming from a parent, and the parent is asking about their children having healthy relationships with their bodies, and asking, in taking your course Body-Wise, how they might support their children in developing that.
It's such an important question. It's such an important question. For a whole bunch of reasons. The most important of which is that we now have the most anxious young people that have ever existed in the United States. And I don't think it's really that different in other developed countries. So we've got a bunch of kids who are suffering in terms of anxiety and depression. We are the #1 country in the world for anxiety. We're #3 for depression. A couple of European countries are ahead of us. There's no great reason for that. I mean, there's plenty to be upset about in the world, but we're not a war-torn country. I'm not saying every neighborhood is secure by any means, but most people in this country are living in relative security in terms of danger outside their front door. But yet we've got generations of kids who are anxious and depressed. I was just hearing that at elite colleges, 50% of the students have anxiety and depression. Now, I'm relating that to the body. So you want your kids to be comfortable with their bodies. Hallelujah. Good for you and lucky for them. So being comfortable with your body and feeling yourself actually inhabiting your body is essential for well-being. It's essential for happiness and joy, and knowing what you want, which is what prevents you from getting into situations that are depressing and anxiety provoking. So it's kind of a big deal. So here's what I would say about that. The #1 thing you can do to help your kids be comfortable in their bodies is to be comfortable in your body. So I'm sure you know this as a parent. I have 3 kids myself. But what you say goes in about 5%, maybe 10%, if it's a really shocking moment. What you do is 90% of what they learn. So if you're someone who thinks it's important to be comfortable in your body, but your posture, is like this, and you walk around afraid, okay, you're teaching them not to be comfortable in their bodies. So the #1 thing you can do is to find comfort in your own body. And I really believe that this is a full scale thing. So comfort with eating, comfort with food, comfort with what your body looks like. So, I would challenge all of you not to say out loud mean things about your body. You think it doesn't affect you. You think you don't take it in. You think it doesn't affect your immune system. It absolutely does. And if you have young people around, you're just teaching them how to hate themselves. So that is the last thing we want to teach as parents, because we love our kids. So being really careful about how you talk about yourself and your own body, and then enjoying your body. Right? Whether that is dancing in the living room or doing yoga or working in the garden or going for a walk or jumping up and down and getting excited, being embodied and having fun in your own body is the most inspiring things your kids are going to learn from you. And I would also say I have taught a lot about healthy sexuality and integrative sexuality in my life as well. I've got several books on that. And it's important, I think, to be able to talk to children about sexuality in a healthy way. And that means that you're calm, you're comfortable, you answer their questions, you don't shame them for anything they do. You try to have, you develop that parent face. I got really good at this when my kids were adolescents. You're talking to them and they say something completely shocking about what their friends are doing or something they did, and you go, benign interest. You have to perfect that face in order to project, what you're doing is fine. And then you give that gentle suggestion after you've had very little reaction. So being comfortable with what they say about their bodies, whatever it is, being comfortable with what they want to tell you. Many, many, many young people will actually want to tell you things that might make you uncomfortable about sexuality or about self-touch or about what they're exploring or what they feel. And it's really essential that we do our best to be kind and receptive, because we want them to be able to talk to us. That's how we keep them safe, because we hear about what's actually going on and we can give real, loving guidance when it's asked for. And in the BodyWise course, I am teaching you how to get comfortable inside your own body, and then how you can share that with your family. And, there is also a lot of live interaction in the course. And if you have questions or something you really want to know about, then we're going to talk about it, right? I don't teach so that I can tell you what I want to tell you. I teach so that I can give you what you need. That's the whole point. So I will be encouraging everybody in the course to be asking me questions the whole time.
Fantastic. And Dr. Rachel, I know the parent face, so I love you sharing that. Thank you. All right, our next question is, I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and sometimes my chronic condition gets in the way of my ability to sense my gut feelings, because my gut always is feeling bad. And so how can I connect with my body wisdom when I have something that is overriding my other senses?
This is such a good question. Okay, and we could have the same question about somebody who has chronic pain. There's definitely somebody listening who has chronic pain because it's so common, whether that's headaches or arthritis or fibromyalgia or, an injury, back pain, neck pain, whatever it is. And in this case, irritable bowel syndrome. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a condition that is considered a functional syndrome, meaning that medicine doesn't necessarily understand exactly why people have it, but we recognize that people have it. It's a whole cluster of symptoms which can have these sorts of things: bloating, cramping, reactions to food, constipation, diarrhea. I mean, basically the gut is talking to people who have irritable bowel syndrome all the time, more than we'd like, which is what this person is saying. So how in that circumstance, because I'm asking people to really listen to what their body is telling them, how in that circumstance can you listen to your body signals when your gut is constantly calling for your attention? First of all, we want to do something about your gut. So irritable bowel syndrome is one of the many things that Western medicine does kind of a crappy job at treating, because we don't really understand it. And it has deep ties to emotion. It has deep ties to microbiome, what we were just talking about, having normal, adequate healthy bacteria in your microbiome, getting rid of parasites, fungi, et cetera, that might be there. And eating a high fiber, healthy diet and identifying any food sensitivities is fundamental to irritable bowel syndrome going better. So got to mention that because that is really a big deal. And then secondly, when I'm teaching how to be body wise, the first thing is sensing what your body is feeling, any sensations that you note. The second thing is any emotional relationship to those. So for example, right now, if my stomach were tight, it could be because I'm nervous and I'm standing here. It could be because I have gallbladder disease. It could be because I'm hungry. Those are the emotional correlates to that crampy sensation that I have. And then discernment is that last step, trying to tell the story of those sensations. So what's being asked of you if you have chronic sensations, pain, discomfort, bloating, whatever it is that you develop this ability to discern between that belly talking to you and other sensations. So it's like a meditative challenge. If anyone's ever done mindfulness meditation or a body scan, it's really about how do I focus my attention? How do I focus my sensory perception on another part of my body, like my head or my neck or my back or my legs or my feet or my hands or my chest for that matter, in order to feel my reaction to something. Because if the belly hurts all the time, it's going to be hard to judge if there is a reaction to a particular situation. And again, I'm going to argue for how do we help you have a better relationship with your digestion. We're going to talk about digestion in detail in this course because, again, it's so fundamental to your health. And it's such a perfect example about how we're related to the natural world. Earlier, we had that question about, do you share your microbiome with people you're intimate with? And I said 100%. And another great question is, do you share your microbiome with the place you're from, like the soil or the animals? And the answer is absolutely yes. So we each have a microbiome influenced by our environment. And there's no place that's more readily seen than in the intestines. So I am hoping for this person or for any of you that have irritable bowel syndrome or inflammatory bowel disease for that matter, a more serious autoimmune disease of the gut, that you get the information you need, which I'm certainly going to talk about during this course and give a lot of things that you can do, whether or not you have a doctor. This is a wonderful time actually in medicine where we have access to all kinds of information and testing online without physicians. We just need help in interpretation, and that's kind of what I'm here for.
Wonderful. Thank you. So in that question, we were just talking about how a physical sensation can kind of maybe block or get in the way of our body wisdom. And our next question is asking about an emotional. So the question is, I'm a trauma survivor and have a difficult time connecting with my body at all, let alone a sense of wisdom in my body. As soon as I start to get a sense of felt emotion, I feel myself shut down. And so I'm really wanting to know, how can I build my capacity for this, and will we be covering things that can help?
That's such a good question. I'm so glad you asked. So when we experience trauma, especially when we're children, but even when we're adults, our body has to get through that experience. And the way that it gets through it, the way that we physically and emotionally survive trauma, is by turning down the volume on our emotions and our sensations. So we increase emotional and physical numbness. Pretty much almost everybody does this. And then the question is, that does get us through. It's an important defense mechanism. We wouldn't want to be without it. We absolutely need it. But it's a rough way to live a life, because when you turn down the volume on sensation and you turn down the volume on emotion, you do block severe pain, and you do block severe unhappiness, but you also block joy, celebration, and pleasure. And who wants to block that for the rest of their lives? That's no good. So part of what we want to do for you is to slowly dip your toe into experiencing your body sensation. And if you're not familiar with it, I would strongly encourage you to take a look at Peter Levine's work. He has a website, which is somatichealing.org. Somaticexperiencing.org. His practice is called Somatic Experiencing. He works with trauma victims to recover their body sensation, because trauma happens to us and we experience it psychologically, but trauma happens to our bodies. So the cellular reaction in the part of your body that was injured or hurt persists after the injury. And in order to truly unlock and unwind that trauma, which is 100% possible, by the way, I just want to throw out a giant piece of hope for anyone who's had trauma. It is possible to unwind trauma. I would strongly suggest you work with a trauma therapist. There are therapists trained in Peter Levine's method at somaticexperiencing.com. I work with a really fabulous trauma therapist in my clinic. We see patients together, actually, in the same room. Sometimes, especially if it's a female who's had sexual assault as part of her trauma, because I do pelvic exams with them, but I do it with the trauma therapist present. So we don't re-traumatize. We actually very gently and slowly un-traumatize people around pelvic touch in a safe way. So a lot is possible. And the body-wise exercise is really about, you know how you said you open that window to feeling and then it's scary and you shut it down again? This is about developing the ability to open it a little bit and then shut it down, and then open it a little more and then shut it down, and then a little more, bit by bit by bit. People get into trouble when they sort of jump in with 2 feet and try to wide open emotion. That can be overwhelming if you've had trauma. But having the assistance of someone or just going very slowly can be really helpful. And in this course, all of the exercises that I do are about listening very gently to your body. And you start with something super simple. Again, Peter Levine has exercises about this, but sometimes even just light touch. Sensing light touch as you're doing it to yourself can be a good way to enter in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rachel. All right, so we do have time for a few more questions, but before we take those, I want to give some details about your body-wise path to healing. So this is going to be a rich 6 weeks with Dr. Rachel, where we're going to learn to live in right relationship with your body, other people, and nature. This 6-week course will be taking place on Wednesdays at 12 noon Pacific, starting on September 25th. And if for any reason you're unable to join the live sessions, you're not going to miss the teachings. You will receive audio and video replays, transcripts, and other handouts through our course homepage. And also, I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on our courses, and we give that for a full 2 weeks, and in this case, that'll be until October 9th. And this will really help make sure that you're absolutely in love with the course. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect on a private Facebook community group to stay in touch with fellow participants. It's a really wonderful way to stay in connection and supporting one another. And I want to share that everyone who registers for this course, Body-Wise, there is a Body-Wise bonus collection. And this includes Wilding, how deep connection with your body and nature can restore your vitality and sexual aliveness. It's a video interview with Dr. Rachel and Saida Desali, and Body-Wise Companion Journal. This is a PDF guide from Dr. Rachel. There's also The Gift Within Conflict. This is an audio dialogue with Dr. Rachel and Nate Bagley. And finally, Understanding the Human Animal, Love, and Right Relationship. This is an audio dialogue with Dr. Rachel and Amy Baglin. So there's also an added incentive bonus here, so that if you do register by midnight Pacific, September 19th, you're going to receive the following video by Dr. Rachel, and that's Healing Your Body, Healing the World, Body-Wise Strategies to Heal Self, Community, and the Planet. All right, thanks for that. I'm going to go ahead and move right on into our next question. And this is speaking about our adrenal glands and the burnout that happens with them. I'm really curious about how in Body-Wise we will find support in dealing with our adrenal system in general.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the adrenal system for those of you for whom that's not a familiar term. So your adrenal glands are located on top of your kidneys, which is on your back, just under your rib cage next to the spine. And the adrenal gland is responsible for our stress response. So when we are anxious, we have a stress response with increased cortisol and increased adrenaline. And that stress response is what allows us to act emergently. So, if you swerved around a car on the highway today, you had an adrenal response. Okay. It increases blood flow to the muscles. It's the fight or flight response. It's a vital response and really important to keep us safe. The issue in our current culture is that most of the things that endanger us are not momentary brushes with danger, like the car on the highway. They're perpetual things that stress us out, and or our great big brains. So there's a really wonderful book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And the basic reason is that the zebra runs from the lion, almost gets attacked, has an adrenal response, and then the lion gets one of the zebras or goes away, and the zebra goes back to eating. No big deal. We humans, we have this giant forebrain. And so we repeat it. Oh my God, he got Ned, my friend. And what if it comes again? And oh my God, what if the lion gets me? And what might they be like, right? Zebras don't do that. Humans do that. So we like to ruminate and self-torture about what's stressful in our lives. And that keeps our stress response on long term. So that's what this person is referring to, is an abnormal stress response. A stress response is a good and healthy thing. An abnormal stress response is a prolonged stress response, especially after the stressor is no longer present. So how do we deal with that? I already told you that we have the most anxious nation on earth, right? So this is good advice for everybody. But I really, my number one recommendation these days, because it's so underappreciated, is to get into nature. And I say that because I have had a really stressful year. It just happens sometimes. It wasn't anything personal that happened to me, but many people near and dear to me were very sick or dying or in trouble or injured this year. And that is stressful for me. And the way that I've done two things, both of which I will highly recommend. One is I finally got myself to do a regular meditation practice. I've been trying to do that for probably 30 years with mixed success. And now I'm actually doing it. Very helpful because it gives you just that momentary separation between what's happening and your reaction to it. And that is sort of the key to the universe here in terms of stress response. And then the other thing is getting into nature, by which I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy, go smell the flowers in your neighbor's yard, get to the woods if you can, walk through a field, go to a park, plant pots in your apartment, get yourself into nature, touch, feel, smell plants. It can be remarkably therapeutic. And then the BodyWise course is all about teaching you to use your body intelligence to understand what's happening. So, for example, I was supposed to be in Africa twice this year. Both those trips got canceled because of events with loved ones of mine. The second time, there was this phenomenal opportunity to go to Tanzania with my husband, really a bucket list trip, like a remarkable opportunity. And I wanted to go in my head. My gut kept clenching, and I'm someone who follows my body intelligence. And I said to him, I don't know what to tell you. I think I want to go, but my body doesn't want to. And then what happened is, unfortunately, my husband's father is in the dying process right now, and that started. And of course, we didn't go. We're being with him for that beautiful transition. But my body knew something I didn't, right? It's remarkable what's possible. And the reason that it helps us with stress is it gives us something else to make decisions in a way that are better for us. Part of the issue there was it was just a little too much for me. That trip was going to be stressful in addition to the fact that it wasn't ever going to work out anyway. And my body was saying, no, too much. Too much. You're going to get sick, right? Something's going to happen. Remember how I talked about stressful events bring on autoimmune disease. You really want to pay attention to what your capacity is. And most people need far more gentle, loving rest. I mean, lie on the couch, lie on the floor, lie outside on the ground, rest. as well as more sleep in their lives to deal with the amount of overstimulation that we have in our modern environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I do want to clarify right here. I read the time incorrectly. I want to let everyone know that Dr. Rachel's course is going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard on Wednesdays. Not to worry Dr. Rachel with, wait, I have patients. All right, so I think we have time for one more question here. I'm hopeful. This question is, I love your perspective of the 5 fundamentals of health: eat, sleep, move, love, and purpose. I'm wondering, how do you prioritize these and not feel overwhelmed or discouraged? Because I feel like maybe one area needs, more than one area needs attention.
It's such a good question. So here's what I do with my patients. The first time I see somebody, we're going to talk about all those areas because, again, it's the fundamental part of health. But I never want anyone to change more than one significant thing at a time. And the reason is that it doesn't work. If it worked, we'd do it, but we don't do it because it doesn't work. Because you can't feel overwhelmed by change. It has to be one small thing at a time. So, for example, when I had to take myself by the hand and get myself to meditate, and honestly, I did it because I was in so much psychological pain. This is how the world works sometimes. I got squeezed by the universe enough that I knew I needed a regular meditation practice. I needed one anyway, right? I needed to change my perspective. I needed to really live into a new way of being. I knew I needed meditation, but in order for me to do it, I needed a little kick in the butt from the universe, and I got it. But when I started meditating, here's my goal: 10 minutes once a day. And that is my goal because that's what I can handle. I didn't go to a silent meditation course for a month. I didn't say, I'm going to meditate an hour twice a day. I would never have done it. I wouldn't have done it. And then when I would have felt bad, I would have felt like a failure. So find your area. It's often sleep, but find your area, pick one thing in that area, and go with that first. And then eventually it becomes just a part of your routine. It's no big deal. Meditating now is easier for me than it was when I started because it's just part of my routine. I don't think about it, and now maybe I could meditate 15 minutes. In any case, you can't have your expectations unrealistic. You have to really, part of loving yourself and really being body intelligent and body wise is all about loving yourself. Part of loving yourself is recognizing your limits, recognizing your human limits for what you're actually able to do, and having a lot of love and forgiveness around it. And that's why we take on one thing at a time. So that would be my suggestion. Pick one, do that, do it for a while, do it for months. And then when that feels, that was pretty easy. Okay, try something else, pick something else.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rachel. And I'm looking at the time and I'm seeing that I'm so grateful that this has been such a wonderful hour together. And I want to thank everyone for being with us today and for your questions. Your Body Wise Path to Healing begins on September 25th. And again, you can visit bodywisecourse.com to learn more and to register. And if you do that by midnight on September 19th, you're going to receive the special bonus of a video dialogue from Dr. Rachel called Healing Your Body, Healing the World. So, Dr. Rachel, I would love it if you can share some final words for our listeners. And I really feel your enthusiasm and just all that you're going to be bringing to this rich course. So I would just love to hear your sharing as we get ready to transition and finalize our call.
First of all, I just want to thank you for being here. It's a privilege for me to get to interact with you. What great questions. And also to feel like, wow, we're not alone in doing what we're trying to do in the world. We're trying to bring joy and health and well-being to ourselves. We're trying to bring joy, health, and well-being to our children, to our communities, to our world, to the natural world, to the non-human friends we have too. And we're all doing it together. So thank you so much for being here with me. And whether you join me in the course or not, I bless you on your path. I hope you get exactly what you need. If it feels like it would be rich and fun to spend some more time together, I'm excited to do that too. And there is a lot more to explore. So I send you blessings and well-being.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Rachel. I'm looking forward to, I get to be on this course with you, and I'm thrilled, and I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Thanks, Carrie. I so appreciate it. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And on behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well, and I look forward to having you on this course or one in the future. Thank you.